Hello everybody. I really like what is right in front of my eyes. It's a lovely family. It's our Grenadier family. And it's April 14th. And the weather is, oh my goodness, it's not for April 14th, but we accept it. We have a beautiful, beautiful event today. And there is a reason why. We were planning to do it April 14 exactly. Right in a few minutes, you will know the whole story. You will understand why April 14. And I'm really happy that everybody came. You need just to make a little step toward your neighbor, toward the person who's next to you, to know a little bit more about that person. And you will see an absolutely beautiful picture, unexpected maybe picture. You don't even know, we know so little about ourselves. And the life is so crazy these days. And I'm really happy to introduce you to Colin Frizzell and his friend Tim. And so there's a reason why we are here, right, Peggy? So many years ago, April 15, there was written a last letter that you sent to your husband, to your future husband, in those days. And then, I don't know, it's such a little time. It's such a little time, and it was not enough time. And it's a love story today that we're going to present. Colin. Just see if everybody's so emotional, excited. Yes.
Can everyone hear me okay? Can you hear me in the back all right?
Yes.
Okay, I will do my best to enunciate and project. Okay. When I set out to write the introduction to these letters, I went to the library to research 1963, the civil rights movement in the United States, the election of a new Liberal government in Canada after a non-confidence vote against Diefenbaker's Conservatives over nuclear weapons. The provisional IRA had yet to form in Northern Ireland, but the FLQ were active in Quebec. I was going to talk about how people had faith in being able to change the world and hope for a better future. Kennedy was in the White House. The Beatles had released their first album, Please Please Me. Lawrence of Arabia was at the Oscars. Bond was at the box office. Television was sending its first satellite images. And Martin Luther King had just made his I Have a Dream speech. But this story isn't about that. This story is a simpler dream. A dream which is shared by everyone, and that, it seems, you have to give up on in order to find. And once you find it, you have to take a blind leap of faith to have it and give it everything you've got to keep it. It began, as I'm sure you surmised, in 1963, August to be exact. Peggy Strain was a 35-year-old school teacher who had been single for the 10 years since her first marriage was annulled. Her faith in men had been dissolved with her vows. She was on vacation with her mother, Elizabeth, Lily, and having visited Lily's brother, Bill, and his wife, Flory, and their family in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, they made their way to Prince Edward County, Ontario, to visit Lily's cousin, Martha, or Mrs. Jarvis, as she's referred to with proper respect in the letters. While in Canada, they stayed with Mrs. Jarvis's son, Jack, and his wife, Grace, and daughters, Jean and Janice. Peggy had been over to visit before, and those visits were greatly welcomed, especially by Janice, who loved her Aunt Peggy. Janice very much loved her Uncle Art as well, her mother's brother. Art was a bit of a rogue. At 40 years old, a confirmed bachelor, the youngest in a family of 4, he had stayed on the farm to look after his mom, but more so out of obligation than love of the land. His real love was people, and he surrounded himself with them, constantly enjoying their company and the odd drink, for it helped the party and conversation flowing. Art was footloose and fancy-free, as the saying goes, and he was quite happy to be that way. So when his niece got her mother Art's sister Grace, involved in setting him up with some strange Irish woman that he had never met. Well, he wasn't too keen. And Peggy, she went along with it more to be a gracious guest than anything. There was to be a dance at Lake on the Mountain Hall, which was owned and operated by Art's older brother, Hugh, and his wife, Bernice. Art's oldest brother, George, and his wife, Betty, were also going to be there. Grace would bring Peggy. Art would come with his brothers. But Art, having never met Peggy, decided she wouldn't be his type and went to town for a few drinks with the boys. After a few hours, Peggy was none too amused by this Canadian hospitality. Meanwhile, Art was getting pretty bored in town and decided to head home. Since Lake on the Mountain was on his way, he saw no harm in stopping by. That was when this small-town country boy first learned of an Irish temper. He was instantly captivated, and though she didn't show it, so was she. 4 days later, they got engaged. The catch was that Peggy had to go back to Ireland and stay there for 8 months before she could return. The extra wrinkle was that Peggy didn't own a phone, so they could only communicate through letters, which they wrote to each other faithfully and often. Those obstacles became our treasures. This is the story of Art and Peggy. It's a tale of what all stories worth telling should be about: love. Not just any kind of love, but the love that blooms from almost the first moment your eyes meet and lasts until your last breath and beyond. I grew up knowing this story, but never appreciated its wonder, its rarity, the courage that they both had in order to bring it to life. Despite knowing the story, while reading the letters, I still found myself wondering what the outcome would be. If they would get together, if it would last, what would happen. Even though there were only 7 of the 70-odd letters Art wrote, because of a pact that they both made and that Art fortunately broke and Peggy only partially held, the story comes across. It's not only a story that shows the love and longing that they had for each other at the time, but it echoes the longing that will return nearly 4 decades later, when they were once again torn apart. The letters didn't just keep my attention, they also kept me calling my fiancée, who was 200 kilometers away at the time, and telling her how much I loved her. My own marriage not working out only made me appreciate this love story all the more. I understand more just how much care, work, mutual devotion a loving marriage takes to survive, and how truly rare it is. I hope that you not only enjoy the letters as much as I do, but that you get as much from them, and more. That you squeeze your loved one's hand a little harder, give them a little extra goodnight kiss, and most of all, I hope you find the courage to do what is the bravest thing anyone can do. Give yourself fully to another without losing who you are, while letting them be fully who they are, as Dad demanded in one of the letters. A lasting love isn't for the fickle or the faint of heart.
We'll start.
One D, Bracken Way, Rush Park, Newtown Abbey, County Antrim, Northern Ireland. 21st August, 1963. Dear Art, I find it hard to believe that so many miles are separating us when it is such a short time since we were together. How I would just love to be able to call up and hear your voice. You see, I miss you already. Yesterday morning in Picton, I moved into Mother's bed and I felt cold. Thermostat not working again. And when I woke up, I felt something touching my back. For one wonderful moment, I thought that we were married and that you were beside me. Art, I do love you so. Ireland doesn't seem home to me anymore because you are not here. It is true when they say home is where the heart is. We had a very pleasant flight back, and other than waking up to eat supper and breakfast, I slept most of the way. We were only 8 3/4 hours in the air, but when we landed at Belfast Airport, we had to remain on the plane for another hour as customs and immigration lounges were so busy. However, even so, we were back at the flat before 8 a.m. We've had breakfast and Mother has gone to lie down, as she did not sleep last night at all, and very little the previous night. I can't remember if I thanked your mother for giving us such a wonderful engagement party. If not, will you give her my thanks now? I will treasure the memories of that important day all my life, together with the happiness I feel. I hope that you feel the same way too. I wonder when we will be together again. I hope it is soon, as I feel I will be impatient with any delay, for moments we are apart seem wasted. I have so many thoughts in my head, but I'm finding difficulty in putting them down on paper, so I hope that you understand all that I'm trying to say. The weather here is cool and breezy, just as I thought it would be. The sky is overcast, and I wouldn't be surprised if there was some rain. What a change from the beautiful weather we left in Canada. I will write again at the beginning of next week when I find out the details how long I'll have to work. Of course, this doesn't mean that you are not to write until after you receive my next letter. I am waiting eagerly to hear from you, so please write very soon. By the way, I'm still known here as Mrs. Peggy Strain, but not for long, I hope. All my love forever, Peggy.
Sunday, August 25th, 1963, Rural Route 4, Picton, Ontario. My darling Peggy, I received your wonderful letter yesterday morning. I can't tell you how happy I am to know that nothing's changed. I sometimes think that it must have been just a wonderful dream. I guess I'll not really believe it's true until I hold you in my arms again. I love you very much and think of you constantly. If you feel as strongly as I do, I am wondering how you can concentrate on your schoolwork. My work on the farm requires very little concentration. It's work I've done so much I can just do it more or less automatically. Well, honey, I'm late again as usual. It's 12 o'clock Sunday night. I went to church tonight, and after church, Betty and George and the boys came over. We had a lunch and have been visiting. They just left, so I thought I had better write you tonight so I could send it by tomorrow's mail. I only hope this letter means as much to you as your letter meant to me. I took quite a razzing at church tonight, but I find I rather enjoyed it. Cressy is still recovering from the shock of its #1 bachelor getting engaged. However, I am sure when they meet you, they will understand. There's been very little going on around here since you left. How I wished last night that you could be here to go to the dance with me. But since you were not, I had no desire to go, so I watched television. My darling, I am so anxious to know how soon you will be able to come back to me. I miss you so much. I do hope it will be soon. The Cressy people are all very anxious for you to get back too. I don't know whether they are thinking of our happiness or just want to have a party. There has been no marriage in Cressy for a couple of years, and the natives are bubbling with anticipation. Betty got your address from me tonight. She wants to be able to inform you if I misbehave, but you know she doesn't have to worry about that. Maybe she doesn't realize the effect a love like ours can have on a wayward bachelor. Like you, Peggy, there were many things I wanted to say, but since starting to write, I can't seem to bring them out. However, since we both feel the same, I guess it's not necessary, because we both know without saying. I do love you very much and long for your safe return. I have been trying to make some plans for our future, but I can do nothing without you. Sometimes things work out better if there are not too many plans made in advance, so I'm just waiting until you're with me again. The weather has been very nice here lately, and I wish you could be here to share it. Tomorrow I will be picking tomatoes. I'm sure then I will think of 1,000 things that I wanted to tell you, but right now, just like when we were together, I can only think of how much I love you. When I put the ring on your finger, I would have liked very much to have made a pretty speech and told you what was in my heart, but the lump in my throat wouldn't let me have said much, even if I could have thought of it. I'm sure you understand, Peggy, darling. Well, Peggy, I guess this will have to do for now. I will try to do better next time. Write soon. I love you. Art. P.S. I suppose I'll have to address this as you instructed, but I hate to think of you as Mrs. Anybody, except Mrs. Art Frizzell. Love and kisses, Art.
Thursday, 21st November, 1963. My darling Art, 5 months from today, if the ship is on schedule, we should be landing in Montreal. It will seem a long 5 months, I'm sure, although, as you say, the past month seems to have gone in quite quickly. It is only 2 weeks until our Christmas examinations start, and then just 2 more weeks until the Christmas vacation, so that will help to break up the 5 months into smaller sections. Even so, I know that time will not go quickly enough for me, as I am longing so much to be with you again. I love you very, very much. Believe it or not, we have another gale blowing today with heavy rain, and this is my choir practice night too. It's a 10-minute walk over to church, and there is hardly any shelter. It's much too stormy to risk using an umbrella. I think I'll follow your suggestion and go live in Canada. Of course, the Canadian weather would not be the main attraction for me. Bernice showed me the basement and bar one day when Grace called. It looked well, but then I'm sure that it looked a good deal gayer on Saturday night. It must have been quite a party when you hadn't fully recovered by Sunday night. You say that perhaps you are getting too old for it. I don't know about that, but I think that perhaps you are old enough to know when to draw the line, if you know what I mean. I am having a night out on December 14th with the choir. We are having a Christmas dinner in Belfast and then going on to the show. This is our annual winter outing and is usually very enjoyable. Of course, we are still capable of attending both services the next day. Point taken? I am looking forward very much to attending my celebrations that are planned for next spring. Attending them with you, that is. I hope everyone won't expect me to be a great talker, because if I feel that is expected of me, I just can't think of anything to say, and then I get so embarrassed. I didn't have to pay any postage on the letter that wasn't stamped. Maybe they couldn't decide who should get the money and decided it was easier to just forget the whole thing. I could just picture Janice dashing into the house and asking to see the sweater. I'm glad she approved to my choice of sweater, of course. I'm glad you like it too. How did you get on with the driving of the school bus? I'm sure that it is a very noisy session. Is the bus for kids that go to Picton, or is it for the local school? Mother hasn't gotten around to writing Mrs. Jarvis or even to her brother in Milwaukee. She does require quite a bit of coaxing before she does it. I wrote to Mrs. Jarvis some weeks ago, but haven't had a reply yet. I guess she has been too busy preparing for her visitor. Was it a Mrs. Spear who came from Ramilton, County Donegal, but is now living in Toronto? There was no badminton last night, so I took the opportunity to wash my hair and to try to get the minutes of the last vestry meeting written up. This takes some time, as the minutes must be very accurate. I worry about them until they've been read and confirmed at the next meeting. I had better bring this letter to a close, as I have some preparations to make for school lessons tomorrow. I love you, my darling, so very, very much. Yours forever, Peggy.
Ontario, Canada, December 8th.